Hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about stuff. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. There's a brand new video every 24 hours. I don't know where to begin with this one. It makes sense, but it's also a little bit crazy. A lot of bit crazy, somewhere in between. The word for today is going to be broken, like shattered, no longer actually in place, or you can even use the word illusion. It'll make sense as we slowly dive on into it. A lot of analysts think that the current idea or mentality of a 4-year cryptocurrency cycle is completely broken. One of the ideas, in case you, and I mean you might have missed at some point around 180 videos, it's totally possible. The idea is, as it's not just us anymore competing in the cryptocurrency market, we are essentially battling against corporations, companies, institutions, banks, governments, like big money. If they're all de-dollarizing, and they're moving a lot of their money into Bitcoin, essentially, if people would sell, you would be selling it to these corporations. A lot of the larger analysts, and I can only assume the BlackRocks and the Fidelities, like the people who are talking to and like helping governments and other large institutions, have price predictions on hand. These are currently ranging and I mean in a short sense, anywhere from $500,000 to a $1 million Bitcoin over the next 3 to 5 years. And 5 years is like kind of pushing it. We've heard multiple times, $1 million Bitcoin 2029, $1 million Bitcoin 2030. And then Cathie Wood with her $2.4 million Bitcoin in 4.5 years. Legitimately, she said 4.5 years we're going to get there. So it would mean that the movements that we're seeing, a lot of analysts think that what we're currently going through, because I'm sure you've noticed, with prices not like spiking like we're used to, like heavy spikes in the market. You've heard it before. You've seen it before. If you're brand new here, you've seen it on TV. You get news, Bitcoin's up by 21%. We kind of go sideways for a while. Bitcoin's up by 38%. We kind of go sideways. Like that kind of thing over and over. We've been going up in price, but we haven't really been going up in price how we normally would. And analysts think this is because of a more like steady pace of large money entering the market and essentially kind of more control over the market because a lot of smaller players keep flushing themselves out. It's not that they're getting flushed out. Is that when they don't see the price rise how they want it to rise, they leave the market. These coins get accumulated by BlackRock, etc., etc. A really popular analyst within the space, his name is Plan B. I assume that stands for Plan Bitcoin. Has been quite popular since around 2018, 2019. I don't know the exact time or year, but somewhere around there. For his Bitcoin predictions and his hyper bullish charts showing Bitcoin hitting these incredibly, no, it was definitely 2017, 18, 19. And I remember that because there was a podcast years ago. I don't remember what it was called, but he was one of the guests on there. And he was saying that based on extrapolation and how much Bitcoin was being accumulated back then, he was seeing, I believe it was by 2040. I want to say 2040. His charts were showing a $10 million Bitcoin. Keeping in mind, this is when Bitcoin was like $1,800. So you sound a little psychotic when you're saying that. Everyone's like, oh, wow, you think we're going to get there? Like that kind of thing was going on. Prices moved up. Some of his charts have been extremely accurate. Others were not during 2020 when the world was panicking. And since then, basically, he's kind of become like a huge figurehead in like, this is what's going to happen with the prices. This is what's so much. He is a part of this broken group, collapse, illusion, in thinking that things are the same as they essentially were yesterday or the day before. The institutions who are here are buying up so much coin and basically pushing everyone else out of the market, they're kind of forming a brand new system within the space that is just going to be run and owned by companies and corporations, which is the exact opposite of what Bitcoin is for, but we're not going to talk about that. It's similar to when, about 4 or 5 videos ago, I don't know, we were talking about that this analyst said that 95% of all Bitcoin is now in the hands of very wealthy people and companies and corporations, institutions, you name it. And he was saying that people don't understand that, like, there's this much Bitcoin left for 8 billion people who haven't even realized that this is going to be like the new world currency. So Plan B basically told people that it looks like we are in a cycle, but not really a cycle. And the cycle's kind of just the beginning because of everything that's been happening. Sorry for my hands, like always just moving around, since the beginning of January. He thinks that we are in a new 4-year cycle based off of the levels of accumulation, and basically January being like the turning point for all these institutions like rushing into the market. If you missed it, there are now around 18, 19 companies who have publicly listed companies who have announced that they are going to be buying Bitcoin. He said Bitcoin's price is at 100,000, give or take, which is still far away from the stock to flow value. His charts are showing that this is the makes sense part. He said based off of all the accumulation, all the stuff that we've been seeing in the news, his chart is showing a base valuation of Bitcoin at 500,000 US dollars. He said this is based off of fundamentals and scarcity fundamentals. He said, I expect that we're going to see much of this movement over the course of the next 4-year cycle, but we're still far away from that. I'll get to that in 1 second. He said, we've started on this 1-year cycle. We have 3 years to go, and Bitcoin is very undervalued. He thinks that according to the movements of his chart, Bitcoin is going to rise in price by 860% over the course of this cycle. He's targeting by the end of this, basically, imagine a constant movement up in Bitcoin's price. We went over this recently as well. Imagine a constant moving up in Bitcoin's price, but we're not seeing 21, 38, like that kind of thing. But imagine just like consistently moving up, sideways, basically going up. He says if that continues over the course of this cycle, we are going to get to a $1 million Bitcoin on his charts, which would then lead us to, that would be 2029, 2030, which is what every other analyst has been saying. And I will end that thought by, I want to see if that happens. Remember, so if you weren't here years ago, we had this constant thing where in 2016, 2017, a lot of analysts used to tell us like, Bitcoin's price is going to this, Bitcoin's price is going, but they were always giving a 2022, 2023, 2025 kind of time frame. 2025, if you weren't here years ago, was apparently meant to be the year. I don't know why everyone chose 20. Maybe it sounded heavily futuristic back then. But analysts years ago, like price predictors, used to say that 2025 was going to be like the ignition, like that year. So this is what I think is also in the back of the minds of a lot of people. But when I talk about like the 2029 and 2030 thing, everyone's talking about $1 million Bitcoin. And I really want to see if they're all correct. A lot of analysts have been correct as far as like even us getting to like 100K Bitcoin roughly around this time frame. I want to see if we actually manage to properly 10x and get to $1 million before 2030, which is what they're all kind of saying. The optimism is still very high. Right now, we are more or less waiting for hyper clarity from basically everything, from trade, from interest rates, to who's going to control what's going to happen to who, that kind of thing. I think a lot of people are optimistic. My mind can't be that optimistic because of all the nonsense that's been going on. But a lot of analysts believe that by the time we are towards the end of July, we should have a full bucket of clarity. We should know exactly what's going on with the trade, what's going on with interest rates. Like everything should be relatively resolved. I just kind of sit here and enjoy the ride because there's nothing I can do. Yeah, we're talking about $500,000 Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin being at $1 million by the time we get to the year 2030. The other numbers that we keep seeing over and over are currently a $250,000 Bitcoin sometime by October, November, December. That's the number that keeps on getting thrown out there. We'll see what happens, but either way, I think it's going to be fun. I do hope that you all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.